Niki Lauda was an Austrian Formula One driver. He was a three-time world champion in that class, winning in 1975, 1977 and 1984, and is the only driver in F1 history to have been champion for both Ferrari and McLaren. So here's my little intro for today's podcast. Hello, my name's NewFlowerGirl, but you can call me Demi, and from the introduction of today's podcast, you should have heard that it is about Niki Lauda. Of course, Niki Lauda isn't alive anymore. He passed away in 2019. He's one of the most famous. He was one of the most famous drivers in F1 history, and I just want to let you guys learn more about the hero that he is. So in this podcast, I'll be explaining how he got to Formula One, and his personal life, a little small bit about that, about his accident that he had on the Nordschleife of the Nürburgring. His return, and the reason why he died, because there's also always a reason. So let's get started. Niki Lauda was born on the 22nd of February 1949 in Vienna, Austria, with a wealthy paper manufacturing family. His paternal grandfather was the Viennese-born industrialist Hans Lauda. Lauda became a racing driver despite his family's disapproval. After starting out with a Mini, Lauda moved into Formula V. I don't know that class, but if there's someone who does know it, put it down in the comments. As well was normal in Central Europe, but rapidly moved up to drive in private Porsche and Chevron sports cars. With his career stalled, he took out a £30,000 bank loan secured by a life insurance policy to buy his way into the fledgling March team as a Formula 2 or F2 driver in 1971. Because of his family's disapproval, he had an ongoing fight with them over his racing ambitions and abandoned further contact. Lauda was quickly promoted to the F1 team, but drove for March in F1 and F2 in 1972. Although the F2 cars were good, and Lauda's driving skills impressed March principal Robin Hurt, March's 1972 F1 season was catastrophic. Perhaps the lowest points of the team's season came at the Canadian Grand Prix at Motorsports Park, where both March cars were disqualified within 3 laps of each other after just past 3/4 of the race distance. So that's basically the last quarter of the race. Lauda took out another bank loan to buy his way into the BRM team in 1973. Lauda was instantly quick, but the team was in decline. Although the BRM P160E was quick and easy to drive, it was not reliable and its engine lacked power. Lauda's big break came after he ran third at the Monaco Grand Prix that year, and Enzo Ferrari became interested. When his BRM teammate Clay Regazzoni left to rejoin Ferrari in 1974, and owner Enzo Ferrari asked him what he thought of Lauda, Regazzoni spoke so favorably of Lauda that Ferrari promptly signed him, paying him enough to clear his debts. After an unsuccessful start at the 1970s, culminating in a disastrous start to the 1973 season, Ferrari regrouped completely under Luca di Montezemolo and were resurgent in 1974. The team's faith in the little-known Lauda was quickly rewarded by a second-place finish in his debut year for the team, the season-opening Argentine Grand Prix, his first Grand Prix or GP victory, and the first for Ferrari since 1972, followed only 3 races later at the Spanish Grand Prix. Although Lauda became the season's pace-setter, achieving 6 consecutive pole positions, a mixture of inexperience and mechanical unreliability meant Lauda won only one more race that year, the Dutch GP. He finished 4th in the Drivers' Championship and demonstrated immense commitment to testing and improving the car. The 1975 F1 season started slowly for Lauda, after no better than a 5th place finish in the first 4 races. He won the 4 of the next 5 driving the new Ferrari 312T. His first World Championship was confirmed with a 3rd place finish at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Lauda's teammate Regazzoni won the race and Ferrari clinched their first Constructors' Championship in 11 years. Lauda then picked up a 5th win at the last race of the year, the United States Grand Prix at Watkins Glen. He also became the first driver to lap the Nürburgring Nordschleife under 7 minutes, which was considered a huge feat, at the Nordschleife section of the Nürburgring was 2 miles longer than it is today. Lauda did not win the German Grand Prix from pole position that year, after battling hard with Patrick de Pale for the lead for the first half of the race. Lauda led for the first 9 laps, but suffered a puncture at the Wipperman 9 miles into the 10th lap and was passed by Carlos Reutemann, James Hunt, Tom Pryce and Jacques Lafitte. Lauda made it back to the pits with a damaged front wing and a destroyed left front tyre. The Ferrari pit changed the destroyed tyre and Lauda managed to make it onto the podium in 3rd, behind Reutemann and Lafitte, after Hunt retired and Pryce had to slow down because of a fuel leak. Lauda was known for giving away any trophies he won at his local garage in exchange for his car to be washed and serviced. Unlike 1975 and finishing 2nd in the other 2. Unlike 1975 and despite tensions between Lauda and Montezemolo's successor Daniel Audetto, Lauda dominated the start of the 1976 F1 season, winning 4 of the first 6 races and finishing 2nd in the other 2. By the time of his 5th win of the year at the British Grand Prix, he had more than double the points of his closest challengers, Jody Scheckter and James Hunt. And his 2nd consecutive world champion appeared a formality. It would be a feat not achieved since Jack Brabham's victories in 1959 and 1960. He also looked set to win the most races in a season, a record held by the late Jim Clark since 1963. And this part is about the accident he had on the Nordschleife. A week before the 1976 German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, even though he was the fastest driver on that circuit at the time, Lauda urged his fellow drivers to boycott the race, largely because the 14-mile circuit safety arrangements, I don't know how to pronounce that word, kitting the organizers' lack of resources to properly manage such a huge circuit, including lack of fire marshals, fire and safety equipment and safety vehicles. Formula 1 was quite dangerous at the time. Three of the drivers that day would later die in Formula 1 accidents. Tom Price in 1977, Ronnie Peterson in 1978, and Patrick Depailler in 1980. But the majority of drivers voted against the boycott and the race went ahead. On the 1st of August 1976, during the second lap at the very fast left kink before Bergweg, Lauda was involved in an accident where his Ferrari swerved off the track, hit an embankment, burst into flames, and made contact with Red Lunge's Surtees Ford car. Unlike Lunge, Lauda was trapped in the wreckage. Drivers Arturo Merzario, Lunger, Guy Edwards, and Harold Ertl, ERTL, don't know how to pronounce that, arrived at the scene a few moments later. But before Merzario was able to pull Lauda from his car, he suffered severe burns to his head and inhaled hot toxic gases that damaged his lungs and blood. In an interview with BBC Radio 5 Live, "I was there May the 11th, May the 21st, 2019. Niki speaks in I've got 19 now in my head. Niki Lauda speaks in 2015. Lauda said, there were basically 2 or 3 drivers trying to get me out of the car. But one was Arturo Merzario, the Italian guy, who had to stop there at the scene because I blocked the road. And he really came into the car himself, and he triggered my seatbelt loose and then pulled me out. It was unbelievable how he could do that. And I met him afterwards, and I said, 'How could you do it?' He said, 'Honestly, I do not know, but to open your seatbelt was so difficult because you were pushing so hard against it. And when it was open, I got you out of the car like a feather.' Lauda was wearing a modified helmet because it didn't fit him properly. The foam had compressed and it slid off his head after the accident, leaving his face exposed to the fire. Although Lauda was conscious and able to stand immediately after the crash, he later lapsed into a coma. While in hospital, he was giving the last rites, but survived. Lauda suffered extensive scarring from the butt to his head, losing most of his right ear as well as the hair on the right side of his head, his eyebrows and his eyelids. He chose to limit reconstructive surgery to replacing the eyelids and getting them to work properly. After the incident, he always wore a cap to cover the scars on his head. He arranged for sponsors to use the cap for advertising. With Lauda out of the contest, Carlos Rodman was taken on as his replacement. Ferrari boycotted the Austrian Grand Prix in protest at what they saw as preferential treatment shown towards McLaren driver James Hunt at the Spanish and British Grand Prix. It's a lot of text, I have to warn you guys. So it's a long podcast. Let me just quickly have some of my drink. And we'll carry on. Joining Parmalat sponsored Brabham Alfa Romeo in 1978 for $1 million salary. Lauda endured 2 unsuccessful seasons, remembered mainly for his one race in the Brabham BT 46B, a radical design known as the fan car. It won its first and only race at the Swedish Grand Prix, but Brabham did not use the car in F1 again. Other teams vigorously protested the fan car's legality, and Brabham team owner Bernie Ecclestone, who at the time was manoeuvring for acquisition of Formula One's commercial rights, and did not want to fight a protracted battle over the car, but the victory in Sweden remained official. The Brabham BT6 for Alfa Romeo Flat 12 began the 1978 season at the third race in South Africa. It suffered from a variety of troubles that forced Lauda to retire the car 9 out of 14 races. Lauda's best result, apart from the wins in Sweden and Italy after the penalization of Mario Andretti and Jos Villeneuve, was second in Monaco and Great Britain, and the third in the Netherlands. The Alfa Flat 12 engine was too wide for ground effect designs, in that the opposed cylinder banks impeded with the Venturi tunnels. So Alfa designed a V12 for 1979. It was the fourth 12-cylinder engine designed that propelled the Austrian in F1 since 1973. Lauda's 1979 season was again marred by retirements, a poor pace, even though he won the non-championship 1979 Dyno Ferrari Grand Prix with the Brabham Alfa. In the single make BMW M1 Pro Car Championship, driving for the British Formula 2 team Project for Racing, led by Ron Dennis. When not in a factory entry, Lauda won 3 races for P4 plus the series. Decades later, Lauda won a BMW Pro Car exhibition I'm Dutch, so if you don't know, I put it all in English, and some words are hard to pronounce. Exhibition, race, event before the 2008 German Grand Prix. In September, Lauda finished 4th in Monza and won the non-world champion Imola event, still with the Alfa V12 engine. After that, Brabham returned to the familiar Cosworth V8. Late September, during practice for the 1979 Grenadian Grand Prix, Lauda cut short a practice session and promptly informed team principal Ecclestone that he wished to retire immediately. He had no more desire to continue the silliness of driving around in circles. Lauda, who in the meantime had founded Lauda Air, a charter airline, returned to Austria to run the company full time. In 1982, Lauda returned to racing, with basically returned to the sports, and he went to McLaren. This is basically a summary of this entire bit, because it's so big. He became Alain Prost's teammate. He stayed there, I think till 1986, I think. But he's still the only driver who won world championships for both Ferrari and McLaren. It would have also happened it also happened to Hamilton, but then with Mercedes and McLaren, because he won the world championship in 2008. After the final after an amazing final overtake on the last lap, last corner in 2008 in Sao Paulo, which is Brazil. And he also did it with Mercedes up to now. Now we're gonna go on to something that I actually saw that's basically how I got sort of passionate for Formula One. And therefore I have a little fragment which I would like to hear when it's there. The 1976 F1 battle between Niki Lauda and James Hunt was dramatized in the film Rush 2013, where Lauda was played by Daniel Brühl and James Hunt as Chris Hemsworth. Lauda made a cameo appearance at the end of the film. Lauda said of Hunt's death this:
"When I heard he died aged 45 of a heart attack, I wasn't surprised. I was just sad."
He also said that Hunt was one of the few he liked, a small number of people he respected, and the only person he had envied. Lauda also appeared in an episode of Mayday titled Niki Lauda Testing the Limits, regarding the events of Lauda Air Flight 004, and described running an airline as more difficult than winning 3 Formula One championships. Now we're basically almost at the end of the podcast. Another sip of drink. The name of his mother is Elizabeth. Lauda had 2 sons with his first wife, the Chilean-Austrian Marlene Knaus, married 1976, divorced 1991. Matthias, a race driver himself, and Lucas, who acted as Matthias's manager. In 2008, he married Bridget Wetzinger, a flight attendant for his airline. In 2005, he donated a kidney to Lauda when the kidney he received from his brother in 1997 failed. In September 2009, Bridget gave birth to twins. On the 2nd of August 2018, it was announced that Lauda had successfully undergone a lung transplant operation in his native Austria. Lauda spoke fluent Austrian, German, English and Italian. It's what you get when you work with Ferrari. I mean, listen to Charles Leclerc. He's from Monaco, and he speaks fluent Italian. Yeah, it's what you get when you race for Ferrari. But it's good because yeah, because if you go to Italy on vacation a lot, then you have a step ahead of your other family. Lauda came from a Roman Catholic family. With an interview with Zeit, he stated that he left the church for a time to avoid paying church taxes, but went back when he had his two children Baptist. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Baptised. On the 20th of May 2019, Lauda died in his sleep, aged 70, at University Hospital of Zurich, where he had been undergoing dialysis treatment for his kidney problems, following a period of ill health. A statement issued on behalf of his family reported that he had died peacefully, surrounded by family members. Various current and former drivers and teams paid tributes on social media during the Wednesday press conference session before the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. A moment of silence was held before the race. Throughout the weekend, fans and drivers were encouraged to wear red caps in his honor, with the Mercedes team painting their halo device red with a sticker stating, "Niki, we miss you," instead of their usual silver scheme. His funeral at St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna was attended by many prominent Formula One drivers, including Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, David Coulthard, Nico Rosberg, Alain Prost, Valtteri Bottas, Nelson Piquet, Gerhard Berger, Jean Alesi, and Jackie Stewart. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't know how to pronounce many of these names. Arnold Schwarzenegger and many Austrian politicians, including Alexander von der Bellen, among others. The Haas F119's mini shark fin section of the engine cover, the top, was painted red with Lauda's name and his years of birth and death. Both Hamilton and Vettel wore special helmets in remembrance. To be fair, 2019 was kind of a dark year for Formula One, because not only did they lose Niki Lauda, but they also lost the life of what would be a future F1 driver. In a horrifying Formula 2 crash, a young French driver, also lost his life. His name was Antoine Hubert, and he was a really good friend of Pierre Gasly. And every time at the Spa Grand Prix, because that's the race where he died. They have a moment of silence to remember him. Yeah. It was a dark year. But I do have to say, I looked back at the crash of Hubert, and a few days before that I had seen the movie Rush on DVD, because I have it on DVD. It's basically a carbon copy of the crash of Lauda, but without the fire. And yeah. I don't know what else to say. But yeah. This is basically all I have to say about Niki Lauda, all I had written down. Yeah. Niki Lauda also had his own Formula 1 team named Jaguar. And it was later, basically later it got given another name, new team boss, and that is Red Bull. So that's basically the reason why Red Bull Racing is Austrian instead of British or Dutch or wherever the Red Bull drink comes from. Don't know, probably in America or something. But yeah. 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 I don't know what else to say. Something else about I do have something else. I once made a presentation about Niki Lauda when he was still alive. I think it was like 2017 or something. It was when I was still in secondary school. And there I that had history, and before that I had watched a documentary about the whole history of Formula 1, and that also kind of hit me as to Formula 1 is an amazing sport, and it's the best sport. It's even better than NASCAR. Some may disagree, I don't. But yeah, I also watched some other documentaries about Niki Lauda, about his time in the hospital right after the crash. And one of the things was when he was in the hospital, when he just got there, when the skin operation transplant thing was successfully done, his wife came in and she started to cry and said, "I only recognize you to the feet." She only recognized him by his feet. The rest of it was all gone. But yeah, I do recommend you guys watching the movie Rush if you like the old engine sounds. Same for me, same for my father, Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton. Basically the whole F1. Like, just go back to the noisy engine sounds, because that is the most iconic thing of Formula 1. Lewis Hamilton even drove with that, with the amazing engine sounds in 2008. And on my PlayStation Vita I now have F1 2011. There, when you are racing on your own, it's not much different. It's just a bit more noisy, but when you pass someone, it's really like it's really like that sound. And that's what I like about Formula 1. It's just the noise. now you basically have super silent cars, and yeah, people are making such a fuss about, like, oh, what about the animals? What about the animals? Like, they're gonna get disturbed. But then you go back. But then when you look back, when the super noisy engine sounds were there, like the V8, V10, V12, what happened to the animals then? Like, I mean, they can get used to it, like how they get used to us giving them food or us making our gardens animal proof. Like, they can get used to those sounds, because animals, they learn just like us. And if you have a sound, letting them hear it for such a long time, they kind of get used to it, and when the next time they hear it, it's like, oh, I need to watch out for it, or oh, that's a nice noise, or that's a noise that is safe. They learn. Same for dogs. Like, we are gonna do a firework training with Nusha. Gonna go to some places where there are gonna be where there are gonna be few bangs. When people are hunting, we're gonna go close to those places, but not on the location themselves. We're just gonna let her get used to the sound, because it all started well on New Year's, on the day of New Year's Eve. Like, she was aware that there were gonna be some bang bangs and stuff, but when it basically hit 11 p.m, she went nuts. And then when it was 12, New Year's Day, a few minutes in, a few seconds even, she went mental. She started to go behind the dishwasher, trying to hide, and yeah, it was not good. Like, my father and I, we both don't like it when animals get scared. My father gets scared, doesn't like it more than I do, but it is harsh. But yeah, she's still young. She can learn. But yeah, another 40-minute podcast. I hope you guys do enjoy the idea that I had of the video I posted on Monday. I do hope that you like these kind of podcasts. If you have someone or something you wanted about next time, so which is not next week, but the week after, because I'm gonna take some time of planning, which I said in the vlog. So yeah, let me know what you wanted about, who you wanted about, if you wanted about a movie or about F1 appearances in movies, then let me know, because I want to take some of your guys' submissions and just do them, because these podcasts are basically like about things that I like, or about people who are friends with me and who said, yeah, let's go. I do have an idea for when this picture is done, because I'm a massive fan of Bo Benschneider, who's a Dutch, is still a Dutch Moto2 driver. We were a bit scared that he was going to go to the Superbike, because then we had to buy Eurosport Player, and yeah, we already have Netflix and some other things that we pay for together with others. But yeah, he's staying in the Moto2, and yeah, whenever this picture is done, my my banner, I'm gonna find a picture and basically a black and white picture of Bob and Schneider, and I'm gonna color it in, and then gonna go on Instagram and say I'm gonna do a podcast about this person, and it would be nice if he joins. So then I don't have to tell everything myself, but would be also nice like to have some of his own sayings, like how does it feel to drive a motorbike, or what goes through your head when you make a mistake, or when someone in front of you crashes out because of a mistake of their own, like those kind of things. But yeah, we'll see if he joins, if that happens. If not, I will get some information of my own. Try and get an interview out of it. Basically out of away from YouTube and stuff. I do hope that he will join and stuff, but we'll see. Yeah, that's the end of this podcast. Not a long one, because podcasts are freaking long. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys. I don't know when. I think I will see you guys Monday for the first ever video of the red panda behind the story. So be sure to look for that. I already had one comment saying like it's so nice to have something to put the community together. And yeah, I want to say thank you for that, because it's basically sort of what my father also said. And yeah, it is just an idea to do something different. Like, there are so many people who do Minecraft and gameplay. There are not many people who do stories for content. And yeah, I'm excited to do it. I hope you guys are excited to see me do it. Gonna be drawings and storyline, and basically how it came together. So basically explanations and all of that stuff. But yeah, I'll see you guys then. Goodbye!